An Afghan immigrant shoots 2 National Guardsmen. Oh, this is going to be a fun episode. Marjorie Taylor Greene's insane new scheme, and a university warns of a whiteness pandemic, which hopefully is just what they call vitiligo. And more on this week's America Uncovered headlines. Welcome to America Uncovered, I'm Chris Chappell. My fellow Americans, the Christmas season is officially here, which means we need to be on the lookout for Adam Sandler re-releasing his next version of the Hanukkah song. We also need to be looking out for not supporting America's arch nemesis,
China!
That's right. You want to share a little holiday spirit and then boom, that awesome Robert cop you bought turns out to be made in China, and you just helped the PLA buy a new fighter jet. So this Christmas season, buy American, and I want to help you do it. I'm putting together the first ever unmade in China Christmas shopping catalog. It'll be full of products made in the USA and other friendly countries that are also standing up to the CCP. To fund this shopping catalog, I need your help. Join Operation Take Back Christmas on my Give, Send, Go page. Become a revolutionary retail shopper, an anti-big tech patriot, or a soldier in the American Liberation Army to get exclusive benefits. The link is below. And remember, all I want for Christmas is you to like and subscribe. On with the show. Prepare for a merry-go-round of a story. A U.S. official told Fox News that Ukraine agreed to a peace deal. He did it. Trump finally did it. From now on, when he dances, the YMCA will stand for You Made a Christmas Armistice. Except that Fox headline isn't exactly accurate. A more accurate way of phrasing that scoop is that Ukraine agreed to the essence of a peace deal with Russia, and Zelensky wants a meeting with Trump to work out the more sensitive, lingering issues in the deal, including the fear that Ukraine is being strong-armed into accepting a deal that's mostly on Russia's terms, with Putin being allowed to keep the land he took in this invasion. So basically the same reservations Ukraine has had for years now. But whether or not the US and Ukraine can find an agreement may not even matter, as Russia is expected to reject this plan. This new plan is a scaled-down version of a larger plan that more heavily favored Russia. But even then, they weren't guaranteed to take it, because, shockingly, it turns out that a brutal, lying authoritarian who invaded a sovereign nation and is known for poisoning and tossing people out of windows isn't the most reasonable guy. So all of that excitement just to wind up where we started. Like I said, a merry-go-round. Sadly, it doesn't seem like we're going to see a Christmas armistice. Here's to hoping we can get something by Valentine's so the world can celebrate a V-Day on V-Day. Speaking of unreasonable people, Marjorie Taylor Greene. By now you've probably heard that Greene announced she will be resigning from her office as of January 5th, the very day her taxpayer-funded pension for life kicks in. What beneficial timing. And there are reports other Republicans could resign in her wake. But what's next for MTG? According to sources at Time, a run for the White House. And when word of this got out, her odds of being the GOP nominee in 2028 doubled. There's just one problem. And not just her still being about 50 points below J.D. Vance. The story isn't true, at least according to her, who called this fake news, said journalists are often liars, and made a long, rambling post about all the problems with the country. Why does a blonde, artificially tanned politician doing this seem so familiar? Maybe Greene is going to run for president. To summarize that novella of a post, Greene feels that there's a political industrial complex where both parties are fighting to stay in power, but neither is doing enough to actually improve the lives of their constituents. So she's walking away from the rigged system. Will she run for a different office? Will she start a podcast or become a co-host of The View? One thing is for sure, she's sad to go. Thankfully, she'll have plenty of cash to wipe away her tears, thanks to that taxpayer-funded pension for life. Part of the reason MTG is leaving office is her running afoul of President Trump. One thing she disagreed with Trump and several other Republicans on was health care. To summarize, she thought Obamacare was a terrible plan, but when it comes to replacements for it, she thinks Republicans have no consensus on a plan. Trump has been trying to bring down medicine prices. His administration announced $12 billion in savings from Medicare drug price negotiations, which they claim is double what Biden did in the first year of his Inflation Reduction Act. These price cuts will come from 15 prescription drugs, including Ozempic. Thank goodness. Finally, we can have some equity in Ozempic face, and everyone can afford to look like there are invisible gremlins dragging their cheeks toward the underworld. But letting Obamacare subsidies expire without a plan in place would cause healthcare prices to shoot up faster than Nancy Pelosi's stock portfolio. Fortunately, Trump has a solution: postponing the unveiling of a new healthcare cost plan and possibly extending Obamacare subsidies for 2 years, but with limitations on eligibility. So, the same terrible plan, but hopefully slightly less terrible, to give them time to hopefully, maybe, finally come up with a different plan that's hopefully, maybe, finally, slightly less terrible. Shouldn't be this difficult. We need leaders that can take decisive action and come up with bold new ideas. Of course, I'm talking about, no, I actually wasn't going to say Chris Christie. He looks like he knows as much about healthcare as Stevie Wonder does about Impressionist painting. It's time for new blood. I'm talking about Mamdani and Trump, America Uncovered's new officially endorsed ticket for 2028. It's the bromance this country needs. And it'd be cool to have the national anthem changed to the theme from The Odd Couple. 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard were shot in Washington, D.C. near the White House. According to officials in D.C., one of them has died, while the other remains in critical condition. This, of course, immediately led to a round of my least favorite game show, Who's to Blame? Some immediately said violent radical leftists were to blame. Some said Trump was to blame, and this could have been avoided if the guards weren't used as political pawns and deployed to other cities unnecessarily. Which is kind of like saying, what were they wearing? They wouldn't have gotten shot if they didn't have on those sexy, skimpy little National Guard uniforms. The answer this time? An Afghan national that worked with the CIA in Afghanistan immigrated to the US in 2021 and drove cross-country from Washington state to carry out the attack. He was let into the US by the Biden administration, but his asylum was granted by the Trump administration this past April. No motive has been given at this time, but it's being called an act of terror. And like with other violent acts, mental illness could be a factor, and the warped rationale behind the shooting might not fit into a neat American left versus right binary. But who cares about nuance? Let's keep pointing fingers and try to score as many political points as possible. Because if we can't make every senseless tragedy into a game, then we're just left with senseless tragedies. And that's too much of a bummer to deal with. So join me next time on my least favorite game show, Who's to Blame? Speaking of dumb tribalism, the University of Minnesota's Culture and Family Life Lab posted a webpage describing whiteness as a pandemic and encouraged parents, educators, and caregivers to re-educate children and use their privilege to put an end to this radicalized racist society. Was this written by AI? It's such a cliche rage bait thing you'd see on Fox News in 2019, it feels like there's no way a human could be involved in this, right?
Our first recommendation is to remember that the whiteness pandemic is a pandemic. If you were born and raised in the United States, especially in a white family, then you've been raised in the pandemic, and you can play a role in halting and reversing this pandemic.
Never change Marxist ideology in universities. And by that, immediately change everything. Please, for the love of God, change. Change now. So they want to stop the spread of the whiteness pandemic. Does this mean they're going to do it the same way we were told to stop the spread of the last major pandemic and socially distance? I feel like we tried socially distancing white people from other races and didn't exactly make the country less racist. And remember, don't buy Made in China this Christmas. Support my Unmade in China Christmas shopping list by supporting my Give, Send, Go campaign. Click below. I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.